In this video, I'm going to be reviewing question 30 of the USMLE's 2021 version of the free 120 sample questions for step 1, which I have linked in the video description down below. As always, if you haven't taken a look at this question yet, I encourage you to pause the video, try working through the question on your own, then come back here and check out the breakdown. Okay, so let's take a look at the question. As always, we start at the end, we figure out what they're asking, and then we go back to the passage and find our key information. So they're saying, what's the most appropriate initial response? Out of the main question styles we get here, this isn't mechanism or diagnosis. This is clearly an ethics communication style question. So let's go to the passage. We've got somebody with renal disease coming in for follow-up on hemodialysis, and says in the last 3 months they were admitted to the hospital with poor adherence to their fluid and salt restrictions. And here's the important stuff. They say they're sick of being on dialysis and following the restrictions is really hard. And so what are we going to say to that? How are we going to respond to that statement by this person? So let's look at the answer choices and just see. So answer choice A, I imagine, is frustrating, but you don't want to die, do you? Like that's kind of superimposing our values. It's almost guilting them into how they're supposed to feel or anything, something like that. And so rather than listening to this patient's frustrations, we're sort of pushing our own values onto them. So A, not a great choice. I don't like A for that reason. B, I know this is challenging, but do you remember how difficult it is to be hospitalized? So, one, I am always cautious whenever we have these phrases where like, I know, or I understand, because, a patient can quickly turn around and be like, do you know, like, are you going through this? Do you really understand what I'm going through? Because honestly, we don't. We're empathizing, but we don't really fully understand what it is to be in their shoes. And then we're also kind of making assumptions on, how they're going to feel, like their values. Was it difficult? And again, kind of like guilting them into trying to do what we want. And so B, also don't like that one. I'm going to look for something better than these two answers. C, it's tough to change your diet and fluid, but what sorts of things were you doing at first? So I think this acknowledges the difficulty of the situation without us saying that we fully understand what they're going through, because again, we don't. But it acknowledges that it's a difficult situation, they're frustrated, and then we start soliciting some more information because clearly they were able to do this at some point. And so maybe we can figure out like what was helpful, what wasn't, and try talking through it with them. So C, that's the best answer we've got so far. I'll keep that around. D, making changes is so difficult. Okay, acknowledges that. Can you imagine how good you'll feel once you make the changes again? So this is like a half and half. Like I like that we acknowledged how difficult these changes are, but we're assuming that they're going to feel better when after they've made these changes. And they said that following the restrictions is hard. Clearly, if they felt great, like why did they stop? And so we want to be careful about promising how somebody's going to feel, because they may not feel that way. And so then they'll be like, you said I was going to feel better and I'm more miserable than ever. So for that reason, I'm staying away from D. And then E, it's very hard to do, but you may have an easier time if you meet with a dietitian again. Like, is lack of education really the problem? Like it sounds like they were able to do this pretty well at one point, so they know what to do, and just referring them to the dietitian to be told the same information over, I'm not sure that's going to be the thing that fixes this situation, and it doesn't address how difficult it is for this person. Now, is that a bad answer? Like, it's not the worst. If it was A, B, D, or E were the only answer choices I had to pick from, I would probably choose E more than the other ones. But because we want to utilize our dietitians. They're very helpful. But in this case, I think maybe there's some more individual stuff. We can do some motivational interviewing or something like that. So I think C is the better answer here, and that would be the correct answer on this, rather than us passing the buck and not trying to address this patient's situation directly. We're going to utilize the skills that we have in this moment and see if we can make a change right now, rather than just refer them and hope that somebody else does it. So that's how I would approach this question. I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, check out some of the other videos in this series. And as always, I hope this helps you out on test day.